Welcome to chapter 8 of the book of Numbers, Purification of the Levites. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, first, before they get to the Levites, we're going to go through the first 5 verses about the lampstand. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to Aaron, and you shall say to him, Whenever you should place the lignus, the lamps, from out of rank, the 7 lamps shall give light according to the front of the lampstand. The lampstand, as we see here, is made of solid gold. Now, a lot of pictures of the menorah, you'll see it'll be rounded and they'll have tubes that come off. But if it was a tube, it would say, I think it would have said it was a tube, but it said solid gold. So solid gold, you wouldn't be able to bend it like you see the typical menorah in so many pictures. And then earlier, when it described on the making of this lignos, these were turned objects that turned like on a lathe of some sort. And so this, I believe, is probably the closest we'll come to a correct image of what the lignos looks like, in my opinion. So it's to give light out front. And the lampstand as far as in the tent. And Aaron did so. According to the front of the lampstand, he lit up its lamps. I had in front, but according to the front, it's better to me. I think it's better. He lit up its lamps as the Lord gave orders to Moses. And this is the apparatus of the lampstand, the lignias. Its stem is solid gold. So solid gold, steria, wouldn't be a tube, I don't believe. Now you could say, well, it means the tube is all gold. It's not made of anything else. But I stick with it because earlier it said it was turned, which means turned on a lathe type of a thing. And turning it wouldn't be that much difficult for these people because they were making ceramics on turning on a table, so they could have done the same thing instead of horizontally. They could have done it, instead of doing it vertically, they could have done it horizontally. And its lilies are solid entirely, according to the form which the Lord showed to Moses. Thus he made the lampstands. Now it goes to the Levites. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Take the Levites from out of the midst of the sons of Israel. And the Levites were from the tribe of Levi, one son of Jacob, who was renamed Israel. And these Levites are 400 years later. And it says, and you shall purify them. That is 400 years after the father Levi. And thus you shall do to them for their purification. You shall sprinkle about them water of purification. Now, rantizo, perirantizo, sprinkling it about. I had a pastor of a mainline denomination church, so he liked the Apostolic Bible, but he didn't like my use of immersion for baptizo. And I said, what do you think it should have been? He said, well, it could have been sprinkle, it could have been poured. I said, well, if that was the case, it would have used different words, wouldn't it have? Would have used sprinkle, rantizo, or poured, reo, but it didn't. And here we see a sprinkling, sprinkle the water of purification. And a razor shall come upon all of their body, or the whole, and you shall wash their garments, and they shall be clean. So they needed to shave their hair of their whole body, head, chest, every place, and they'll be clean, and then wash their garments. And they shall take one calf from out of the oxen. That's the animal that is a draft animal. It pulls wagons and plows. And of this sacrifice offering of fine flour being prepared in olive oil. and the calf of a year old from out of the oxen you shall take for a sin offering, different offerings, and you shall lead forward the Levites before the tent of the testimony. So they all go out in front of the tent. Let me see if I can find that picture here. I had it yesterday. Sanctuary, there it is. So they're out here somewhere bringing these animals and coming. All the Levites are standing there. And you shall lead forward the Levites before the Lord. That would be there at the tent. And the sons of Israel shall place their hands upon the Levites. So here's this giant crowd of people out in front with the Levites coming, and people, the sons of Israel, putting their hands, whether they just chose certain people, it doesn't say. And Aaron shall separate the Levites for a render, a borrowing before the Lord, a rendering, a giving them to the Lord, rather not a borrowing, from the sons of Israel. So the Levites are being separated as this rendering to the Lord, giving them all to the Lord. And they shall be so as to work the works of the Lord. Not all Levites were priests, only the sons of Merari, Gershom, and Kohath. And the Levites shall place the hands upon the heads of the calves, and you shall offer the one for a sin offering. And they took him inside there and slaughtered him, and then offered him as a sin offering, and the one for a whole burnt offering to the Lord to atone for them. And the atonement was to make amends to God. It didn't get rid of sin. It was just something that would appease God. You make an atonement if you committed a sin, then you make up for it by doing some type of a work or repaying. It doesn't change the sin. You still did the sin, but you're sorry, and you show it by doing these actions. And so the priest was to do the actual atonement service. And you shall stand the Levites before Aaron and before his sons. That would be the sons of Merari and Kohath and Gershon, and that would be the priests, and shall render them as a render to the Lord. And you shall draw apart the Levites from out of the midst of the sons of Israel, and they shall be to me. Now, 1473, to me. It could also be a me. It could also be number 1699, mine, and I put mine, but mine is a adjective possessive, and this is not an adjective possessive. It's not saying my to me. I don't see it that way. I see this as a dative personal pronoun. So I'm scratching out wherever these 1473 a me are and making it to me. So they shall be to me. And after these things the Levites shall enter to work the works of the tent of the testimony. Of course, now again, these Levites would have been the three sons of the priests. And you shall cleanse them and shall render them before the Lord. Now, a lot of the Levites would go do the work, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they were the priests. It's a little bit difficult to understand. Depends on the hierarchy and the primogeniture and so forth. For as a render, these are being rendered to me, giving to me. They are from out of the midst of the sons of Israel, in place of the ones opening wide every womb of all the firstborn from out of the sons of Israel. I have taken them to me. Now, what it's saying here is that all Israel would give the firstborn to the Lord, sacrifice the firstborn to the Lord of the animal. If it was a human, then they would pay a ransom for it, something of the worth. And the Levites instead were the render of the children of Israel. Instead of rendering their actual firstborn, they rendered the sons of Levi. And it says, for, now I may change this, for to me is, and you can knock out all these numbers, is every firstborn among the sons of Israel, from man unto beast. In which day I struck every firstborn in the land of Egypt, I sanctified them to me. The firstborn, of course, they died at the Passover when the angel went over. And I took the Levites instead of every firstborn among the sons of Israel. Instead of taking them and having them die, of course, that would not be what God would do. So he has taken the Levites as a render in place of the firstborn. And I gave back the Levites as a rendering Aaron and to his sons from out of the midst of the sons of Israel. He's giving them back to work the works of the sons of Israel in the tent of the testimony. So instead of all the rest of the tribes working and doing that, of the tent of testimony, the rendering of that they gave to the Lord's giving to do this work and to atone for the sons of Israel. And they would be the in-between, more or less, mediator. That a calamity shall not be among the sons of Israel whenever drawing near to me the holy things. If it wasn't a Levite and somebody else, then a calamity, they could die. And Moses and Aaron did, and all the congregation of the sons of Israel, to the Levites, as the Lord gave charge to Moses concerning the Levites. Thus the sons of Israel did to them. And the Levites purified themselves and washed their garments, and Aaron rendered them as a render before the Lord, however he did it, the service. And Aaron made it an atonement for them to purify them. And after these things, the Levites entered to officiate their ministration in the tent of the testimony before Aaron and before his sons, as the Lord gave orders to Moses for the Levite. Thus they did to them. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, This is the thing for the Levites from 5 and 20 years and up. They shall enter to minister a ministration in the works in the tent of the testimony. And from 50 years old he shall leave from the ministration and shall not work any longer within the tent. And he shall officiate with his brethren in the tent of testimony to guard the watches, but he shall not work the works. Thus shall you do to the Levites in their watches. So they didn't, there's certain things that they, after 50 years old, they could no longer do that, but yet there's certain things that they could do. It doesn't list all these things out, so we will just know that if you're over 50, you didn't have to do the hard work and labor. Chapter 9, continue, Numbers, observing the Passover. So this would be first or second Passover after they've left Egypt, the second year. So it would be now I'm not sure if they did it before or not. I don't remember. Well, chapter 9, we'll go over all of that, and then hope you join us. Chapter 9. Until then, God bless.